Welcome once again to Living in the 21st Century. Joining me this morning is Michael Smith, founder for Boston Carnival Village.
Nice.
Now a photographer,
Yep.
an engineer, a multi-talented person. Michael, it's good to got you on today.
Same here, my friend. Morning. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we got a lot of things to talk about today and some nice, beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
What really got you into photography now more than you used to before? Because it seems pretty committed now.
Photography for me is a strange beginning. I was a little guy growing up in Trinidad, and a neighbor took some pictures of us. And when the prince came back, from that day I was blown away. How did that happen? It was a lifelong question. How did he take this picture with this little thing in his hand?
Right.
And here I am. And I still have one of those pictures that he took in my house today.
Interesting.
But that started a strange thing in my head. And when I got out of college in 1983, the first thing I did was sign up for a correspondence photography course.
Nice.
And I went through that program, even did some work in the dark room, developing prints and all of that stuff. And then, of course, everything switched over to digital. And I migrated into that too. And I'm here today trying to get into what they call fine art photography. But before that, I did the exhibition. I did the, I remember doing a big exhibition on Boston Carnival. From all the pictures I took, I did an exhibition. And that went on for about a year at different locations around Boston. And then the next thing for me was how to make this thing more permanent so people could have them. So I decided to look into self-publishing.
Okay.
Taught myself how to do that, started publishing my own books, and then here we are today, trying to create a world in what they call fine art photography.
Beautiful. You know, what amazes me here is that I know you are into the arts as in arts in its purest form, not just photography, but the performing arts also, the literal arts. You even got a little touch over with the culinary arts too. I think this comes because of the natural culture as a Trinidadian, well, not only just a Trinidadian, but Caribbean folks as a whole are multi-talented people. When we talk about the arts, I think the Caribbean region alone established the foundation for the arts. Not the arts, not only in terms of visual arts or literary arts or culinary arts, but the combination of everything that brings out the full totality of the art culture is amazing. I mean, like the Boston Carnival Festival, Village, sorry, you would recognize, though it's the performing arts to some extent, you also have a strong display of the visual arts in creativity and costumes, the craftsmanship, and so forth. How do you think about preserving all this as an artist in the purest form now? Not just a photographer, but...
I tell you, going back to the people that runs Boston Carnival, one of the things I always thought, we should own a building, and in that building should have an art gallery. Because for people who follow Trinidad Carnival, these costumes these people make, it's for one time.
Yes.
And one time only. They spend a lot of time, a lot of hours making these beautiful costumes, and as soon as they parade it on the street, that's the end of it.
That's the end of it.
Next one, new. So I thought about documenting it and displaying it. As a matter of fact, here in Boston, one of the band leaders, years ago, I went to his mass camp. They would make these pieces where people could come to the mass camp and decide what they wanted to play. And I look at the drawing that people did to make these nice rendition. I say, what do you do with these things when you get done with them? He says, you throw it out. I say, you throw it away? Can I come by and pick them up? Because I think, and I told him, I said, you know what? You could frame these things and we could have an auction right here in your mass camp where people could come and buy them and stuff like that.
Correct.
But they never thought about these things, or they never saw that big picture. So to them it's okay, we make the costume, throw it out. And today, sadly, they've now migrated to social media. So somebody is going to do, put somebody in a costume, take a picture of it, and now they're putting it on the internet so you could see what you want to play. But the person who did these nice drawings and stuff like that, gone, which I think is sad. But the same gentleman I spoke to you, I will be going back to his place as soon as the dust settles and see what he has and just take them all of them, because I think it's important.
Yeah, I think so too. One of the things I want to look at is the economic way of making the best value out of these pieces of arts and so forth. And I think that the Caribbean region as a whole, and the Carnival village is made up of Trinidadians and all different types of cultures from various Caribbean countries. And it's sad to see that they came here and invested so much time and so much money into these pieces of artwork or craftsmanship. And at the ending of that day, that goes to waste. Don't you think that the Caribbean region or government should come together and say, you know what? We have something powerful going on in Boston or even something powerful in New York when it comes to Caribbean culture. Can we come together collectively as a government, set up some form of funding collectively as a government, look for a big building, which you would have just said, have a Caribbean museum made up of different countries and what kind of work they are producing annually at these festivals. The reality, these festivals brings in a lot of income for the city and businesses. And the person really, and this is the weird thing about it, the people who are involved in playing the role in bands and wearing costume and burning calories and all this at these outings, at these special festivals, that's all they get. And I think we are designed to make a living from the things we do. Our generations that come after us should be successors of whether it's the artwork or whatever economic value we would have put into something or some city, in this case, they should be successors of it. And going right back to what you say, the preservation, and this can't be done by just you or one person as a whole. I think one of the major problems in the Caribbean region is that there's a standard of selfishness. Everybody thinks they are better than the next. And you can't get these people coming together for a common goal. That's a problem. Do you think that there should be some kind of educational element, despite of what's going on, to educate the Caribbean people to further promote, develop themselves economically?
Big time. I wouldn't say, I think it's mostly what they're used to, what they know. You go back there and you try to introduce them to something new and they tell you, you foreigners feel you know everything, right? Understand. But it's a education thing that has to happen. We have to show them. I know for Trinidad, as an example in Trinidad, we do everything, we pay no attention to it, and you know, it's just another day in the life of a Trini, you know what I'm saying? But as soon as a foreigner touches it and does something with it on the outside, everybody up in arms. What is this? This is we thing, yada, 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 yada. So we have to see it first, respect it, and understand what it is and treat it as such. But the problem is, if you're doing something every day like you're going to take a shower, it becomes sort of like second nature. So they know, yeah, we make these big, massive costumes. We know they're beautiful. We have a good time. We party our butt off, and that's it. Next thing. We have to break them out of that cycle and show them the art component. So if somebody sets up something where we could have maybe like an auction or something like that, so people who wants to buy these pieces,
yes,
you know, the people with the real money, they might want it and like it and want to keep it or have a museum somewhere and they want to put the pieces. We have to create that market. You see
well, you know, I like what you're saying there, because I want to take a quote out of the present Prime Minister of Barbados book, Amor Mayor Motley. Amor
beautiful.
Mayor Motley, yes. She said already in addressing the nation that in your country or in Barbados, you just can't make it on your own. There's some things you have to go abroad and get familiar with. Your eyes are open to so much thing when you live in America or Britain or these other larger countries, opposed to be in your country where you become somewhat economically claustrophobic. Now that's my word, right? You can just see that far and no more. Well, maybe no, it's different because of the social media and technology that we are exposed to. But putting that aside, you have to get a physical feeling and understanding of what these larger industrialized nations are doing, that you can come up with new innovative ideas that you can say, well, you know what, if we do this that way, maybe this can happen. That's something I believe that Caribbean folks have to come to grips with. Being in a position to understand the importance of thinking from a macro level and understand it from a big industrialized nation.
Back to education. Because I'll tell you, before I left Trinidad, that was my mindset too. When I came here and start seeing other people's culture and what they're doing, that woke me up like that.
Yes.
You see? Because back there we in it, and that's it. We're not seeing anything to compare. You just simmering in your own cultural type thing.
Absolutely.
And to you it's just another day.
Yes.
But when you come out here and you go and check out an Asian event, an African event, etc., etc. Last Saturday I was in the city of Boston. I think it was the Spanish Day Parade, and all the activity they had going on. All these things come to me and help me, my ideas blow up and show me things I could do with what I am doing. Back to Boston for a minute. I have a plan to really take our Boston Carnival to a next level. And that level requires starting out with new leadership. I've always been a long believer that whatever these mass camps do, we should have young apprentices learning the art of making these costumes and designing. I have a whole plan for that. And I always believe that our King and Queen show shouldn't be taking place in the back of Dorchester somewhere. But I want to take it downtown to where this Celtics play, the Boston Garden.
Yes.
I think we could put on a major 4-hour show, bring up all the top artists to Trinidad, and the people paying for that
Absolutely.
will bring funds back to continue the growth of the carnival. Because with that kind of a money in hand now, the people who making the costumes could go out and do bigger and better things, you see.
Absolutely.
That's just on a level in Trinidad. Now, trying to reverse that back to Trinidad. Again, Trinidad Carnival is the Mecca. I went to Toronto for the first time, and for a minute, I thought I was in Trinidad. Because what they're doing in Toronto is amazing. The government is totally behind it. They give the band leaders whatever they need to get their stuff going and so on and so forth. I don't know if they have thought about a museum type thing yet, but in Trinidad, to do a museum type thing, to preserve some of these things, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be massive. It's going to be on another level to do that, because when you look at a typical band in Trinidad that has over 5,000 masqueraders in one band, what are you going to try to take in that to preserve? You know, it's a huge problem.
Absolutely.
You know,
you may just have to take top pieces.
Yeah, it's tough. So it's something that needs to be done, but it needs to be super thought out. You know.
Absolutely. On a point of correction, just want to make sure I had the Prime Minister of Barbados' name correctly. I think I had it switched a little bit, but it's Mayor Amor Motley.
Yes.
That's the Honorable Prime Minister of Barbados. That's her name. Yes, but getting back to this, I had a similar thought like what you just had. I really thinking about visiting Barbados next year, and I want to develop the Nulas at really the global level I had visualized it to be. Yes, back in the COVID times, we just had to do it from a micro standpoint, where it was done on Zoom. But I see it just like the Oscars or like the Emmys, where there's a large gathering of people to pay to get the tickets to come in there and do their stuff and so forth. But I'm not going to reflect on me. I'm going to keep...
No.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, man. Got to make it happen.
I know, you got to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I say that to you because there's a lot of similarities in the things in which we do. And I know you're busy, I'm busy, we don't get time to communicate that often, but I hope at some time we could get together and come up with one good macro plan that can benefit both Boston, Trinidad, and Barbados, and the Caribbean as a whole. I think we both got the brains to do it. We have the resources, not necessarily economically speaking, but in terms of whether it's on television to have it then broadcast in Trinidad or wherever we choose to do it, to give the people as a whole a perspective on what you are looking at. With this said and done, with these photos, are you going to I know you already did books for the gallery and so forth. Are you going to make more books similar to these?
Yes, more books are coming. I'm working on one right now as we speak. I'm just trying to formulate in my mind how I want to lay that out.
Yes.
So it's being planned. I've already mentally laid it out, know what I want to do. And this one will be a revisit of one that I did before, but places that I've been to on a different sort of a better scale in terms of how I want to lay it out. But my long-term plans is to travel and publish books.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're on this note right now, because most of the books now, people are simply done away with the hard books. Everybody going to e-books or audio books, right? But obviously for these, we have to.
You can't e-this.
You got to e-book with these.
You can't e-book this.
You got to e-book this, right? With that being said, I think it's great. It's great that you don't have to look to ship to Trinidad 100,000 books or anything like that. If you can only get the government of Trinidad, and for me, in this case, if you can only get the government of Barbados, buy into our e-books, we can make some good enough funding that we can support other projects, not for us ourselves personally, but for the benefits of society and benefits of our nations. And I think this is something that we have to work towards diligently in educating the government too. Obviously, no private sector is going to be interested in that project, so this is something you will have to deal with the government up front. So the strategic plan have to be a comprehensive plan that the government will want to buy into it. And even school kids, buy enough e-books that school kids can have access to them on their computer. All the kids don't use a computer in schools. I think this is on a breakthrough that we have never had the privilege to do before. In one way, technology had, to some degree, robbed us, but in the other form, it also presents a new avenue that you can market things and sell things on a totally different level.
It's just a matter of adjusting mentally. Like I told you, when I got into photography, and they made a big switch from film to digital, I had to move along. As much as I love film and being in the dark room, I just says, you know, it is what it is. You got to make the switch, you know. My young daughter now is into photography, and she's only doing film. She says, Dad, I want film. It's okay, I understand. But yeah, it's a matter of marrying what we do to what it is and take it back there. So if we're going to be talking to the government, we need to have a nice package to totally demonstrate.
Absolutely.
And do the presentation to them. I know the president of Trinidad and Tobago, when she took office a few months back, she was really excited in seeing more work done with the steel pan, especially the children. And they're trying to do something.
Is that something else too
to expand that
I would love to talk about, but I mean, we don't have 5 minutes. Steel pan, I mean, is rich. It's rich.
Absolutely.
I love it. I think that is a next product that needs to be developed here in Boston.
Well, something is happening. I'm trying to drill down right now. Somebody told me recently steel pans were brought to the schools in Dorchester.
Nice.
And I'm trying to find out exactly what those schools are, because I want to understand what the program is, how they're teaching these things to the kids. Is it just bring the instrument in and teach them rote method how to play a song? Or is it a full package in terms of this is the history of the instruments, this is how it evolved, and this is where we are today? So
and that's important.
Working,
because you know, there are many developed countries that stole a lot of projects from different indigenous groups and third world countries and so forth, and they took claim for everything. And I think steel pan was originated in Trinidad, and it's rich in history. One thing I would love to know is that how are we going to get the offsprings of Trinidadian people really embrace living in America?
Well, based on what I see what's going on in Trinidad, I was worried about that and the youths in the steel pan. I don't think I have to worry about that anymore, because every panorama, every carnival season, the people I'm seeing behind the instruments are mostly youths.
Okay.
That's amazing.
That really is amazing.
That is really, it's incredible. So I think as long as they're embracing it, maybe they made some discovery that I didn't when I was a youth. At least I always loved the pan, but back then it was a Bajan thing. So I couldn't get involved in it. The parents would take your neck off, you know. But it's changed considerably.
That's great. That's great. Well, in conclusion of this first half, what advice you want to give to young folks who want to embrace photography, the Trinidadian culture, Boston Carnival Village, the preservation of Boston? That's a mouthful.
I say, whatever it is you're doing, love it and drill down into it as much as you can. In terms of the photography, I would love to talk to people about it. So if anybody is interested in me in coming to talk to youths about photography and that sort of a thing, I'm ready for it. I'm not going to waste the time talking about how to use a camera, because everybody has,
Absolutely.
I want to talk to them about composition, creativity. You could point the camera at everything and shoot.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't necessarily says it's what you think it is.
Right.
So when you point that camera at something, how do you compose that shot? What you're looking for to capture?
Those details.
That's the key. You understand? So, yeah, I am willing to do that. I know some schools have programs. As a matter of fact, I sent a package to Roxbury Community College, but I haven't heard back from them yet. So we'll see how that pans out. But the youths, embrace the culture, embrace the culture, embrace the culture, and go for it.
Okay, well, on that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in on Living in the 21st Century. Enjoy your day, and we'll be back with the second half with Michael Smith, Boston Carnival Village.